my dear viewers, my well-wishers, my patrons, and those who regularly participate in my class are advised to join because this is going to be a very special class, and I hope that this class will be helpful to those who are WBCS aspirants and at the same time IAS or UPSC aspirants. I have thought that this topic which I have declared, that is women liberation or women's liberation, is very much important topic for any examination. However, many of my students have requested me from different places to discuss the topic, and that is why though I am very late, I am going to discuss what women's liberation is. Actually, we live in a country like India where different kinds of people of different creed, color, class, etc., and also of religion live. And it is a country of heterogeneous elements. And that is why it is called a secular country. Although it is a secular country, women were actually imprisoned from the very beginning, and almost all the societies were patriarchal type of society. That means male-dominated society. And the women have no liberty to go out of the chains of male-dominated society. Whatever may be the fact, I will discuss point by point or step by step. My first point is that what liberty means. What is liberty? Actually, liberty means enfranchisement of your senses from any kind of bondage. Enfranchisement of senses from any kind of bondage. That is social bondage, economic bondage, from the bondage of education, etc. And this patriarchal society actually is not yet abolished, although in the different ages, different people have tried their level best to abolish. Hello, hi. Actually, I am discussing tonight, though I am very late, tonight, the women's liberation. I am discussing what liberation means or what is liberty. Actually, liberation means or liberty means the enfranchisement of senses. Enfranchisement of senses means freedom from any kind of bondage. Freedom from any kind of bondage. And when you want to be free from any kind of bondage, it suggests economic bondage, political bondage, social bondage, and also the bondage of education. From all sorts of bondage or bondages, you want freedom. Women in our society, male-dominated society, were not at all able to enjoy freedom. But don't confuse between liberty and freedom. Liberty means your freedom which does not interfere with other people's interest. For example, you are at liberty to go to the bus stand wearing any kind of dress you like. It is your liberty because your dress does not interfere with other people's liberty. You may read loudly in your study but closing the windows so that your neighbors should not be disturbed. Okay? You may sing a song with the accompaniment of a harmonium, but your voice should not disturb the other people's study. This is liberty. But you may do whatever you like at your home. This is liberty. But freedom is something that is associated with the freedom of other people. For example, you cannot drive a car on the pavement. You cannot drive a car on the pavement or footpath. Similarly, one cannot walk through the middle of the street. If the cab driver drives his or her car on the pavement, and if the passers-by walk along the road, in the middle of the road, there will be a confusion and nobody will be able to enjoy freedom. So here lies the difference between liberty and freedom. But this is the basic difference of liberty and freedom. But my topic is women's liberty or liberation. You know that just you will have to listen to my video or my speech again so that you may grab it and you may reproduce, and you may also differ from my opinion. Whatever may be the cause, please listen to me and type if you have any objection, and I will interact with you. So you should know, and also you know that because all of you have gone through history of different phases. In the 19th century, you know that even in 19th century, in Hindu society, the wife had to go to the pyre, P-Y-R-E, pyre, that is the burning pyre of her old husband, to be burned, and it was called Sati Daho Pratha. That is the custom of Sati. That is the custom of Sati. And it was a very brutal process. And the great men of India had to struggle hard. Yes. Thank you very much, Onik. You have joined. And I am discussing in a very slow process because my throat is not in a good condition tonight. You know that the custom of Sati was abolished by the constant effort of Raja Rammohan Roy, who pleaded in the British Parliament at the time of Lord Bentinck, and Sati was, even the British feared that they would not be able to do this miraculous job to abolish Sati. But Raja Rammohan Roy, with his constant effort, he abolished Sati. That is the custom of Sati. And you know that the girls or the women were not allowed to take formal education in schools, colleges, and universities. And if the girls or the women were not allowed to go to school, college, or university, our society would lag behind the other societies and of the different countries, because we should know that mothers can arrange for the education of their children at home first. So mothers are the best teachers at home. If mothers cannot teach their children at home, they cannot get the education. So the mothers must be educated. And it was first realized by the great personality and scholar Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar. This man was born and brought up at Birsingo in the district of Midnapur, and he was a scholar, and he was given the award Vidyasagar and also the Ocean of Kindness. When he was the district inspector of schools, with his own effort, with his own endeavor, he established 48 girls' schools in the different districts, including Kolkata. And the salaries, monthly salaries of the teachers who taught in those girls' schools were paid by Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar himself, and he wanted that British should accept those schools, though they promised, but in vain. The British did not help Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar finally. So he had to dispose of his press, his own press, and he had to work from dawn to dusk until he went to bed by writing some books like Bondo Porichoy, Bakaran Kaumudi, and many other books, Sitar Bonobas, Bhranti Vilas, etc. And from those books, the royalty he derived or the royalty he obtained, he paid the salaries of the teachers of the girls' schools. So, the dedication of Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar for women's liberation is no doubt mentionable. So, I have mentioned two personalities like Raja Rammohan Roy and Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar. Now, Vidyasagar also observed very closely that some girl children became widow because their old husbands would die after their marriage, and those unfortunate girls were deprived of any kind of happiness of the family. The girls had to go through Ekadashi, had to abide by many rules made by the Brahmins, the orthodox Brahmins, and Vidyasagar was terribly shocked. And he tried to introduce widow marriage. And that is also women's liberation. Widow marriage. Sir, have you seen the PSC clerkship mains question? No. Just you may post and I will see. But one of the students of my locality came to me and he discussed how the questions were said. But I dealt mostly with translation from Bengali to English and some topics like editorial letters and reports. I tried my level best, but the time was very short. If I would get a long time, I might have helped you very much. But unfortunate I am, and you too. Okay, let us discuss the topic. You see that he introduced widow marriage. And when he was introducing widow marriage, he also selected a girl for daughter-in-law by giving marriage to his own son Narayan Chandra Sharma. Although the marriage was done, the wedding was done, Narayan Chandra was not at all happy, and even Iswar Chandra Vidyasagar's wife protested very much. In spite of these protests of the orthodox Brahmins, his own wife and son, Vidyasagar was indomitable. He had an indomitable courage and he had to fight against the so-called orthodox Brahmins of different places, including Navadvip, Shantipur, and many places of Midnapur. And you know that At Navadvip, he was invited just to give logic why he was trying to introduce widow marriage. When welcome to live chat, remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Yes, I know that YouTube is warning me very much, and I am not disclosing my identity. I am not breaking the rules of YouTube. However, Vidyasagar was terribly insulted by the Brahmins of Navadvip, and even in his Upavit or Poita, that is the thread, sacred thread, which is called sacred thread, was torn off by the Brahmins. Thus, Vidyasagar also went through terrible humiliation, insult, and even physical assault. So he had to keep two bodyguards, Santal bodyguards, with him because his life was threatened by the Orthodox Brahmins. Thus, women's liberation came mainly in the 1960 to 1980, when in the year 1960 to 1980, when in the parliament, you know that dowry was abolished. Dowry 3/4. That means one who gives dowry is also liable to be punished by the law, and one who takes dowry is also liable to be punished by law. And in the court, in the law of court, you know that dowry is 3/4. That means number 3 and number 4. And when the bill was passed, even some members of the Congress party vehemently opposed in the parliament because they knew that they had daughters, and the daughters who were not good looking must be handed over to a husband by giving them dowry. It was the custom, and the well-rooted custom that could not be uprooted terribly. However, and the bill was passed, and the Congress had to impose threats or whips on the members of the parliament to make the bill a law, to make the bill or to turn the bill into a law. However, dowry was abolished. So, what are we doing in our patriarchal society? We abolished sati. We introduced child's education in schools, colleges, and universities, and at the same time we introduced widow marriage, remarriage of the widows. That means it is a natural process because women referred to either our sisters or elder sisters or our relatives or relations. So, we must support it. Okay. Now, In the parliament, it has been recognized that the some seats with regard to employment must be reserved. That is the 33% of the seats in any category must be reserved for the women. It is also a step for women liberation. Nowadays, you know that about 13% of women, I am giving you the statistics roughly, 13% of women are the pilots. They are driving aeroplanes and they are also working in the army force, that is Indian Army, and they are fighting in the same way the male partners are fighting. Thus, liberation means liberation of mind, liberation of mind, liberation of, and you know that liberation of mind depends upon the external and internal freedom. External and internal freedom. Okay? And tomorrow we shall discuss again. But last but not least, I am going to tell you that tomorrow again I will discuss in detail, and tonight I am not feeling so well. I will again be available at 11 o'clock. Goodbye. Stay safe, stay mellow, and like, comment, share, and subscribe, please, if this video comes to your benefit. Again, it is the first part, and the second part will be discussed tomorrow at night. Thanking all of you. Good night.